If you guys regularly watch my videos, then you've probably seen me talk about this, an OBD2 scanner plus the Carscanner app on my phone. And this is one of the most viewer requested videos I get, is how to actually use it and how to monitor these hidden parameters that you otherwise wouldn't be able to see through the car's computers. So the time has finally come to give you guys an in-depth view of how to use this dongle plus the app on your phone. So the first thing you're gonna need to do is get yourself a Bluetooth OBD2 scanner. This is my tried and true Veepeak OBD2 scanner. I have a link on my store if you're interested in purchasing one, and I also provide a discount code for 10% off if you purchase it on Amazon. Right now it's about $30 on Amazon. It's gone up in price over the last few years. But with that 10% discount code, you can get it for about $27. The next thing you're gonna need is the Carscanner ELM app. This is on iPhone, but it's also available on Android. I have the Pro version, which doesn't have any ads or anything, and it's a one-time fee. You don't have to pay a recurring monthly fee or anything, and it's just nice to have, in my opinion. I think it was $10 or so to upgrade to Pro. I use it so often that it makes sense to have the Pro version. So you're gonna install this on your iPhone or Android phone. What's really nice is in the past year, they added the ability to access the app through Carplay on your infotainment screen. So if you are driving, you can still pull it up and see everything without having to fiddle with your phone. But right now we're gonna start on our phone and then work our way over to the infotainment system. So once you have your OBD2 scanner, the first thing you're gonna do is plug it into the OBD2 port on your car. It's always gonna be located under your left knee if you're driving in a left-hand drive country. So all you're gonna do is reach under the dashboard and you're gonna find the little port, plug it in, and boom, it's plugged in. Now, what you don't wanna do is leave it plugged in all the time. And the reason you don't wanna do that is because it will continuously draw power, which could lead to the possibility of a low voltage on your 12-volt battery. It also could allow nefarious actors to access your OBD2 port wirelessly, and you don't want that. So unless you're actively using it, you're gonna wanna unplug it. So once you have the app downloaded, you can just click open, and it's gonna kind of walk you through some of the setup process. So for me, I'm an English-speaking person. Yes, I agree. Next. And here's some interface options. You can go through here if you prefer light, dark, how you prefer the gauges to look in the app. I'm just going to leave everything on the Carscanner settings and hit next. Here's where you can select your units of measure. So I use miles per hour. Don't really need to select a fuel consumption unit, but you can change it if you want. Celsius versus Fahrenheit. This is going to be a big one if you're from Canada or Europe and you prefer using Celsius versus Fahrenheit, but I use Fahrenheit here in the US, unfortunately. Foot-pounds, power units, we will pick kilowatts because that's mostly how EVs are measured, and we'll hit next. So here's where we're going to pick our car. So we're going to scroll down. We're in the Ioniq 5 today, so we'll hit Hyundai, scroll down until we find Ioniq 5. So you can see here there's multiple versions for Ioniq 5. You can see one for 2022 through 2025, and then one for 2026 and newer, as well as Ioniq 9, EV9. So you can just kind of see which one to pick here. We're going to pick that first one, obviously. Apply selected profile, okay. Here's where you can pick that it's an electric vehicle. If you're doing like calculations about efficiency and stuff, you can put in your prices here if you're only charging at home or whatever, but we're not going to fiddle with that today. And then next, all you're going to do is hit connect. And what you want to select here, because this is a Bluetooth low energy dongle, you want to pick Bluetooth LE 4.0 Plus and tap to select device. So now you're going to give Carscanner permission to scan for Bluetooth devices, and whichever one is closest should be the top one. You can see here, Veepeak, that is the one we want to connect to, and then we will hit next. So it's connecting now. It needs to connect to ELM as well as ECU to get a continuous stream of data. Now, if for whatever reason it prompts you for a password, I will have what the standard Veepeak password is on screen right now. I can't remember if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or if it's a bunch of zeros, but I'll have that on screen right now. It might prompt you to do that, but because I've used this one before, I don't think it's prompting me right now. But anyway, now that we're here on the home screen of Carscanner Pro, the first one we really want to take a look at is dashboard, because that is where all the data comes from that I show you guys in my videos, my charging tests, my battery analyses. So let's click on dashboard. So here you can see a bunch of data. You can see SOC, which is state of charge. That is your displayed state of charge. So whatever the screen on the driver's display is telling you, that is what that SOC percentage is showing you. Now, SOC BMS, this is the real true battery percentage measurement, because with Hyundai's EVs, you have a buffer at the bottom as well as a buffer at the top. So when the driver display is showing you 100%, that's not your true 100%. It would realistically be about 103, 104% on the BMS, but it's always fluctuating depending on temperature, what the state of charge is, the battery voltage, all that kind of stuff plays into what you're going to see there. So don't overthink it. The only one that you really care about is state of charge, because that is your usable state of charge. Next to that is your remaining energy. So that is going to be how many kilowatt hours are left in your battery pack down to 0. So you can see here we have 30,738 watt hours, or 30.738 kilowatt hours. So this number here is really important, because if you saw my video about my battery pack failure on this car, then you'll know that I went in here and I looked at my remaining energy when the car was charged, and it wasn't jiving. So let's just say we were sitting at 50% state of charge right now, just for making this an easy calculation. If the remaining energy was showing 20 kilowatt hours, multiply that by 2, that tells you that your full charge battery capacity is only 40 kilowatt hours. This car is supposed to have an 84 kilowatt hour battery pack, so that is completely out of whack. And this is kind of how you can first have an idea of if your battery pack has failed. You can also use this remaining energy number to calculate your battery degradation. Now, it's not going to be a truly scientific test for battery degradation, but it'll give you a rough idea of how much degradation you've seen. I'm going to do a video on this in the future, but just the gist of it: drain your car down to 0%, charge it back up to 100%. This will allow the BMS to calculate voltage accurately and thus total battery capacity. So once you have the battery up to 100%, you can precondition the battery, because it has to be at about 75 degrees Fahrenheit or 21-ish C in order to get a true battery capacity measurement. So you're going to warm the battery pack up using battery conditioning if it's too cold out. Then you'll top the battery back up to 100%, and whatever that remaining energy is a close to true total battery capacity measurement. Now, next up here, you can see battery voltage. So we're sitting at about 700 volts right now. Next to that, you'll see current battery draw. So right now, it's only pulling 0.6 amps. That's because I'm just sitting stationary, I'm not moving. Let's just crank up the AC in here, and you'll see that actively change as we turn the fan speed up and we get some more heat blowing. So now you'll see that battery usage has gone up to about 2.6 amps. It's fluctuating between 1 amp and around there. Now, amperage isn't the most useful measurement when thinking about your battery capacity and how much energy is being used. The real number you want to look at is kilowatts, which is directly next to the amperage measurement. So that'll give you a real-time number for how many kilowatts are being drawn from the battery pack at that given time. So once you're driving it on the road, say you're going up a really steep hill, you'll see that number really go up a lot higher. If you're just kind of cruising along, you'll never see it go super high. Now, the next row contains your battery system temperatures, and this is something that you're really going to want to look at if you're road tripping in cold weather. So the first one, battery minimum temperature, I talk about this all the time. That is the temperature of the coldest cell in the battery pack. So when you're DC fast charging, to get the fastest speed possible, the battery has to be at 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Unfortunately, the battery conditioning system will only bring that coldest cell up to between 69 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit. At that point, it turns off. So that number is going to be the most crucial when DC fast charging in the cold. If you didn't see, I recently put out a video where I tested how much time you lose charging with a cold battery versus a perfectly conditioned battery. So I'll have a link above if you want to check that one out. Now the number to the right of that, battery max, that is going to be what eventually throttles your charging speed, because as you DC fast charge at a super high rate, this car is capable of about 260 kilowatts. That is a lot of heat being generated through the charging process. So once the battery hits about 120 to 125 degrees Fahrenheit, that's when it really starts to dial it down, ramp up the cooling system to bring the pack temperature back down to a more reasonable temperature. Now, people think that battery conditioning is only for winter charging, but it's definitely for hot summer charging too. If you're doing a lot of repeated DC fast charging on a road trip and it's 95, 100, 105 degrees out, you're going to need to actively cool the battery pack between charging stops, or you're going to get really derated charging because of that over temperature situation. Now, the number next to the battery max is your coolant temperature. This is the number you're going to want to watch to see what your coolant temperature is sitting at. So after you activate battery conditioning in the car, you'll slowly start to see the coolant temperature come up. It'll remain higher than the battery min and battery max as the cells and the whole battery pack starts to warm up, and the coolant just kind of dumps its heat into the pack. But after you start battery conditioning, that's going to be the first thing you want to look at to make sure that it's actually turned on if you don't notice a notification on your driver display. If that coolant temperature isn't coming up, which I did have to deal with after my battery pack replacement because they didn't fill up the coolant system properly and purge all the air out of it, so it ended up burning the PTC heater up, and then I didn't have battery conditioning. So if you don't see that working, you've got a faulty battery conditioning system. Now the next row contains your 12-volt battery information, so you can see the state of charge of your 12-volt battery. You can see mine sitting at 73%, and then you can kind of see what the current battery voltage is. If you see it this high, that means the 12-volt battery is currently being charged. If you see it between 12 and 13 volts, it's just kind of sitting idle. Next line underneath that, you have miles per hour, front motor RPM, as well as DC charging speed. Now, what's cool about Carscanner is it allows a ton of customization. So let's say you don't want to see miles per hour right here. All you got to do is hold down on that little icon and hit select sensor. So these are all the different parameters in the car. So you can change it to whatever you want it to be. So let's say we'd rather see the calculated state of health of the battery pack. We can scroll down until we see that. It's under the BMS section. Hit state of health. And you can see it's changed that. So all we'll do is hold down on that, change type, and we will pick text, vertical layout, and then we'll have a similar look to the other gauges here. So pretty nifty that you can do that. If you hold down on it again, you can move it around. So you can click on one of these other red squares and it will swap them. If you want to move it back, move, and you just moved it back. So pretty cool. Lots of customization here. So this is only one of many pages in Carscanner. The next page is just a swipe away. So just swipe to the right again, and then you can just keep scrolling through all the various pages. So the next page here is kind of a bluish theme. It has some other things here like VCMS AC inlet temperature, the indoor temperature, evaporator temperature, outdoor temperature. You've got all sorts of stuff here. You can see here over on page 5, we have some active graphing going on of torque, speed, motor RPM, battery voltage, all sorts of cool stuff. So you can really kind of get a ton of information out of this. We'll keep scrolling over. Here on page 8, you'll see some charging data. So you'll see accumulated quick charging, 110 kilowatt hours, accumulated normal charging, 402 kilowatt hours, which would be level 2. Now, when I had my 2022 Ioniq 5 for multiple years, I saw these numbers kind of jump all over the place, so I don't know how much they can be trusted, but you can take a look at them yourself. Now, over here on page 12 is how I ultimately discovered that my high voltage battery pack in the car had failed. And that is because the maximum cell voltage and the minimum cell voltage had a big difference. And from page 12 here, if you go back one page to page 11, you can see it as a chart. And I saw that multiple cells were significantly lower than the rest of them. If you don't know how the battery pack in your car works, Basically, you have a full battery pack, and that is made up of modules, which are made up of cells. So each module has multiple cells, and there are multiple modules in the total pack. So when you have multiple cells that are just completely out of whack, the car can't balance them, and ultimately the battery pack needs replacement. Now, this was a known defect with the early 2025 Ioniq 5s built in the US, so it wasn't like it was an unknown defect. I just happened to be one of those unlucky few. So if you go into this chart here and you see some cells that are completely out of voltage with the others, you might have a problem. So yeah, you can just scroll through some of the screens, see which ones you like, and just kind of do your thing. Now, going back to the home screen in Carscanner, one of the other things you're going to probably use the most is diagnostic trouble codes. So this is how you can diagnose issues with the car. So you click on that, and here are all the various computers in the car that you can scan. So once they're all selected, you just hit read. It's going to go through all the computers. You're going to hear some things in the car click. That's just how it's communicating. You'll get some warning lights on the display, but they'll ultimately all go away. Now, this process will take 1 to 2 minutes or so to go through all the sensors and everything, and then it'll give you a list of what it has found. Now, once it's done, you'll get a list of what it found. So basically everything here doesn't mean much of anything. This first one up here I see people ask about all the time, P0C17, drive motor A position sensor, calibration not learned. I've seen this on every Hyundai, Kia, Genesis EV that I've ever run a scan on. So if you see things that look like this, just ignore them. There's no major issues here. If you see any other P codes, those are ones you're going to want to look more into. But if you click on that code, it will do a Google search for you and pull up any information it can find. So kind of nice that it just automatically does that for you. But yeah, that's basically it. That's how to run a diagnostic scan. Now, there's some other cool features in here. I'm not going to go over everything. If you really want to get deep into the data, this is logging all the data it's collecting and saving it to a CSV file on your phone. So if you go into data recording, you can see there is a file here, and you can basically select whatever parameters you want. So here we'll just pick these first couple, or you can use the buttons up top to pick all or none. Then you can hit OK. So here you can see some charts with the data it collected. This seems new. I don't think this was like this before. It used to just be raw data. So now it's graphing it out, which is actually really helpful to see. So yeah, that's pretty nifty. You can take screenshots of that if you don't feel like parsing through the data in Google Sheets or Excel or whatever. But if you go back to that first screen, if you hold down on that file, which will be titled with a date when it started recording, you can export, you can rename it. If you hit export, you can select CSV, you can share it to Google Drive, you can put it in Google Keep, you can do whatever you want with it. So kind of nice that you have that option. Now, some people don't know about this feature, but Carscanner actually has a built-in acceleration testing thing. So here, when you're driving, if you come to a complete stop and then floor it, it will start logging your acceleration times from 0 to 20, 0 to 40, 0 to 60. I've used this in the past when I was testing a previous software update, which botched eco mode in the old Ioniq 5, which caused it to be dangerously slow. So this came in super useful for that. And some of you with like Ioniq 5Ns and other folks who like speed, you might enjoy that. So there's other stuff you can do in here, but that is basically all you're going to need to successfully use your Ioniq 5 or to diagnose issues with it. So now that we kind of know what the phone app looks like, let's take a look at it on the infotainment screen. So over here on the infotainment screen, whether you're using CarPlay or Android Auto, all you got to do is find the Carscanner icon, which is right there. Click on it. And the first thing it's going to prompt you to do is to connect it to your phone if you haven't already done so. So all we're going to do, hit connect. It'll say connecting. And then once it's connected, you'll see both of those state connected. So there you go. Now we can go into the dashboard. And here are all your various screens. The only ones I really recommend you using while driving are Bjorn Style 1 and possibly Bjorn Style 2. But you don't even really need Bjorn Style 2 Bjorn Style 1 is going to give you your battery voltage, remaining energy, states of charge, as well as the most important for road tripping, in my opinion, battery min and battery max and coolant temperature. So you can access all this right here. If you go back out and then go into Carscanner, it'll still be right there. So this is very useful when you're on a drive, driving by yourself. You don't have somebody else that can pull out the phone and look at it. I'm so glad they added Carplay support last year. That was sorely needed. This is super helpful. And they have a special tab at the top just for acceleration testing. So you don't have to be fumbling with your phone trying to reset anything. You got a nice big button here to reset all your results, which is super convenient. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that using this device does potentially impact some of the functionality of the car. Hyundai has stated this before. I kind of forgot about it when I used it on our Eastern Edge race from the Canadian border to Key West with out of spec last year. And if you guys watched that video, you know we had an issue with battery conditioning not starting. And it ultimately ended up being because of this device being plugged in. Once we unplugged it, using the manual battery conditioning button, it turned on immediately. And that cost us some time in that race. So just be cognizant this could cause an issue potentially. So there you guys go. That is how to use your OBD2 scanner and your phone to gain a lot more information about your Hyundai, Kia, or Genesis EV. So if you guys don't already have one, be sure to head to ioniqi.com. I have this linked where you can go directly to Amazon to purchase one and get the one that I've been using for 4 years now, the one I really trust, and you can get a 10% discount. I did run into an issue recently where if you follow that link to Amazon, sometimes it's being sold by third-party sellers. Make sure you pick it directly from Veepeak, and then you can use that discount code. If you try buying through a third-party seller and using that discount code, it will not work. There's also a more expensive version of this device. I don't recommend you get it. It's really unnecessary. This Bluetooth low energy version works perfectly. So that's going to do it for this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Check out my store at ioniqi.com for all sorts of accessories for your Hyundai, Kia, or Genesis EV, as well as a link to purchase the OBD2 scanner. Consider becoming a channel member for as little as 99 cents per month. For $3 per month, you can get early access to all these videos, as well as a 10% discount to the products in my store. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody.